My name is Sari van Pooijen. I'm the Director of Team Agility and of Intact Academy. Within Team Agility, we help businesses deal with crisis. We help them innovate more quickly than their products and services. Within Intact Academy, we train coaches and consultants to help businesses do that. We've been doing this for 35 years and we're still going strong. One of the things we're talking about today is, what do you do during crisis? And we talked about leadership, we talked about reestablishing boundaries, about creating cohesion, and about recreating your structure. We're not talking about the need to create unusual partnerships during crisis. Now, creating partnership is only possible once you've reestablished yourself as an organization. Partnership is only possible when you know your own identity and structure. It's the same in a marriage. You can only create relationship once you know yourself. If you lose yourself, it's not possible to partner. And it's the same thing in teams. So what kind of partnerships are we talking about during crisis? Well, it's usually unusual partnerships in the sense that people become extremely creative during crisis. And when we talk about partnership, we're talking about people who are complementary in many ways. We're not talking about people who, or businesses who do the same thing as you in the same way, because then you'd create internal competition. We're talking about unusual partnerships in the sense that within the ecosystem that you have established, they can fulfill parts of that ecosystem in a way probably that you can't anymore or that you don't have time for. This is especially true in crisis. We know that we have to work together to deal with crisis, and you can see it so clearly during this Corona time. It is not possible to survive alone. There is no individual responsibility anymore. Everything has become systemic. To create an unusual partnership, we say two things. One is you need to create complementary partnerships. And the other thing is you have to create a reciprocity advantage, which is an interesting way of saying it, I think. So complementary partnerships, what are they? Well, we look at three factors. We look at the product and service someone offers, the target group they have and their distribution channel, if you want to put it really coldly, and we look at their positioning and branding. We're in a partnership, we're looking for people who have something that's different from you in one of these three positions. So for instance, I offer training programs. But I know that after the training, people have to learn to integrate this knowledge in their work. That means that my ideal partner would be a coaching service which specializes in integrating knowledge. As it is, we offer both, but it would be a great partnership. So if you look at Weight Watchers helps you lose weight. The next problem you have after you lose weight is your clothes don't fit. So what do you need after your clothes don't fit? It would be great to work with designers or people who help you with your body image and to recreate yourself in a different way. So the ideal partnership for Weight Watchers would be, for instance, image consultants, or people who help you dress in a different way because nothing fits anymore. So that's where you see a complementary product or service which would create an ideal partnership. Let's talk about complementary target group or distribution. So in my business, I deal with senior leadership. So I train and help change senior leadership. But once that's happened, it needs to cascade lower down. But that's not my specialization within my business. So I often partner with companies who can create volume to then retrain middle and lower management. Because I'm a specialist. I've been in senior management myself for many, many years. I was a director in multinationals for 23 years. This is my world. And I can really help because I've both been it and I've consulted with them for 35 years all over the world, I can really help senior leaders deal with crisis and create innovation. But once they have got it, it needs to cascade. So I need a much bigger company who can create volume for all that lower management and middle management, which needs to be retrained in a standardized way. So that's an ideal partnership for me. And I often partner with much bigger companies to do that, where they recognize that my specialization is this unique and made to measure help for senior managers to innovate and to deal with crisis. They also have a different distribution channel than I do. I really have a personalized distribution channel. So people know me through conferences, through articles, through books, where they have a distribution channel which is much more depersonalized. So they have cold acquisition, where I always have warm acquisition. So that also creates a different level of partnership. The third part of this complementary partnership is really positioning or branding. We often see in advertisement two different products nowadays advertised together. So, for instance, the DB9 with Ray-Ban sunglasses, for some reason they go together. So they've created advertisements together. And it's a great, they have the same target group, but a different branding and a different positioning in the market. But their products go together really well. So that is also an ideal complementary partnering. So what we need in unusual partnerships are, one, you need to be aware of what your product service is, what your target group distribution is, what your positioning, and your branding is, and then choose a partner who is complementary, who can add value in your product ecosystem. And we can talk about that later. This complementary positioning, we call that creating right of way, or the reciprocity advantage. Creating right of way means that you have access to a market you didn't have before through this complementary partnering. We call it the reciprocity advantage as well. There's a great book about that, by the way. It's called The Reciprocity Advantage. We see it right now in the corona crisis as well. Just this morning I heard, and we know that our ICs, our intensive cares, are full. And so the doctors and nurses are full-time busy with keeping people alive. We don't have enough beds. We don't have enough breathing apparatus, let's call it that. And so they're very busy with just the medical care. Usually doctors and nurses also do the helping, like the social work around a sickbed. They help the family come to terms with it. They help the patient come to terms with it, but they don't have time for it now. So at the moment in Holland, what they've done is they've called up, as an unusual partnership, they've called up the people who work with the police. It's called victim help. I don't know what you call it in English, really, but we have a specialized company which works with the police, usually for people who have suffered a crime. So when someone has burgled your house in Holland, you automatically get an email from slachtofferhulp, we call it victim help, so real victim, I don't mean psychological victim. And in that email, it says, you can call this number if you feel traumatized by what's happened to you. What the doctors and nurses and hospitals have done now is they've said, okay, now the real crime at the moment is corona, and we're all dealing with it. These people are specialized in trauma help. They are specialized in dealing with people in distress. So we're going to create an unusual partnership. And these people are now being used to help the families of patients and the patients themselves deal with the trauma of Corona. There you see the true reciprocity advantage, the real partnering, the creating of right of way, which comes from this complementary idea of product, target group, and positioning. During times of crisis, it is important to create unusual partners and to think in different ways about partnership. You start thinking in terms of the product ecosystem and who could add value in that. And I wish you the same thing.